You're listening to the Angry Marks Podcast Network.
You're listening to the Undisputed Wrestling Show with your hosts, the Prophet, Rick Craig, the Bearded Wonder, Zane Paisley, and the Morning Star, William Huckabee.
All right. From the Asylum Studios in Indianapolis, Indiana, I am your host, the Prophet, Rick Craig. Let's get over to our guest of the evening, and that would be the one and only genius himself, Lanny Poffo. Mr. Poffo, how are you tonight, buddy?
I'm doing very well. Let me ask you a question, Jason. Am I wrestling that night?
We actually didn't have you scheduled to wrestle, but one never knows, what's going to happen at the show. I do know that we've talked about having you present a Future Legend Award to one Mr. Roderick Street during the event, and certainly we can speak, this weekend sometime if, there might be some other things going on, and I know there's some extra people showing up, so, again, never say never.
Okay, I just wanted to know because I'm going to be 59 years old in December, and I think the fans deserve a little bit more respect than to let a geriatric get in the ring. But if necessary, I'll fill the bill. It's just that, I don't leap anymore. I kind of limp. And I still claim to be the genius.
As long as you still have your poems, right?
Right. I probably need some more support.
Oh, good. So, Lanny, obviously you come from a very prominent wrestling family, and watching your father, Angelo, in the ring when you were a young boy, I guess it would be kind of silly of me to say, did that have an influence on your wrestling career, but I guess what made you want to be a pro wrestler? Was it because of your father and brother, or did you have aspirations to do it anyway?
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm a very lucky guy. What's the hardest thing to do in wrestling? Getting your foot in the door. Wouldn't you say that's true?
That's absolutely got to be the most difficult thing to get yourself down there.
Getting your foot in the door, and, with my father being Angelo Poffo, getting my foot in the door was much easier. I'm hearing a little static. Are we having a good audio?
I'm okay on my end. It must be off of somebody's telephone.
That might be mine. Let me, this is Jason, let me excuse myself, just in case it's mine.
I think it's mine. I had a water faucet running, so I turned it off. My apologies.
Okay, no problem at all.
I thought you were going to miss my performance of Back Home Again in Indiana. And I thought you were just...
I saw the video. It was amazing.
I thought you were just being polite, Anyways, I thought I did it almost as well as Jim Neighbors.
Absolutely.
Hey, now that's saying something, man. So how much...
They should bring you up to the 500 and have you do it.
Yeah, why don't you lobby to do that?
I will see what I can do.
Okay, maybe not. I don't know. I don't want to overstep my bounds there. But anyway, what we were talking about before, yes, I am the son of Angelo Poffo, and, Randy asked me to read a poem at his funeral, and I went, and I am very glad that my father expired before my brother because, as hard as my mother took it, it would have been horrible. I hate it when it doesn't go in proper order. But I read, let's see, the poem I gave at my father's funeral was back in 1945 on Independence Day. The Nazis had surrendered. Japan was on its way. My dad was in the Navy, as history will tell, as he was bleeding through the mess. A world record fell. He did 6,000 sit-ups with an extra 33 to glorify his Savior who died on Calvary. And Robert Ripley's feature celebrated this event, giving credence to success is not an accident. That's always been his motto through times both good and bad. He's a real Hall of Famer and the world's greatest dad.
That was awesome.
I got goosebumps going up and down my body right now. Wow.
Yeah, that is just fantastic.
Well, let me ask you, what this radio place, this Blog Talk, where are you located?
I am in Westfield, Indiana, sir, which is just about 10 miles north of Indianapolis.
Okay, and so are you old enough to know who Dick the Bruiser is?
I watched many a Dick the Bruiser match. I'm in my late 40s, so I remember it very well. Dick the Bruiser, the Sheik, and Dr. Bill Miller, and King Kong Brody, and all those wonderful Ox Baker. Absolutely. Wilbur Snyder, Pepper Gomez, Chief Bobby Bold Eagle.
Ever hear of Bobby Heenan?
I recall that name somewhere, yes.
Okay. Maybe the greatest manager ever, and the only thing I would say maybe not would be a lot of people have never seen Ernie Roth, the Wizard, the Grand Wizard.
Right.
But he also had quite an act. So, but I think Bobby Heenan was the greatest on the microphone, and what was great about it is when it was done with the interview, he was still funny, like he was a 24-hour interview. He's like, he never stopped, and it was always great. And, what a fun guy. And it's just horrible what's happened to him. Have you seen pictures?
Yes.
It's like...
Breaks my heart seeing him. I got to meet him back in the 90s and was able to talk to him very briefly, and he is just a class act.
Oh, yeah. He's still got a good personality, believe it or not. I mean, he feeds through a tube, and he's, got half his face missing, but he's still a fun person. I mean, they can't keep him down. And his wife is there by his side, and she helps communicate for him. But I'll tell you what, don't feel sorry for Bobby Heenan. He doesn't, and he's enjoying every single day.
How would you, Lanny, compare somebody like Bobby Heenan? And I totally 100% agree with you. I think Heenan is the best of all time. How would you compare him to one of the he's not an up-and-comer, but a current manager like a Paul Heyman, who also has outstanding microphone skills?
Well, to be perfectly honest, I just don't watch wrestling anymore. And it's not that I have anything. It's not that I have anything against wrestling. I just don't want to say anything good or bad about Paul Heyman. I understand he's very good. I just never had the opportunity to see it. And it's not that I don't want to think that I don't watch a lot of television. And if I do watch television, it's usually baseball. And I also enjoy watching.
And your favorite team is who?
Cincinnati Reds.
Oh, you are the man. I knew I liked this gentleman. Big Reds fan as well, Lanny.
Well, I grew up as a Cubs fan, but then I had the opportunity to meet Joey Votto, and he was so nice to me and my daughter when we came to see him, and made me a big man in front of my daughter by, his graciousness. And I thought to myself, well, I'm not going to be a Cubs fan anymore because, I love Ernie Banks, but what's he ever done to make me look good in front of my daughter? You know what I mean? So, he brought me, we went into the clubhouse, and he was nice to us. We took pictures, I just appreciate that. So, actually, I'm a Reds fan now because of that. And if they trade him, I'll be a fan of whatever team he's on.
I'll tell you what, Lanny, and also besides that fact, the Reds have a better chance of winning a World Series in both of our lifetimes than the Cubs.
Hey, anybody can have a bad century.
That's right. Getting back to wrestling now, Lanny, how much do you miss territorial wrestling?
Well, tomorrow I'm going to Miami and read a poem at Marlins Field before or after the Colorado Rockies against the Miami Marlins. And And then the next day, I'm going to a wrestling school to do a speech for all these up-and-coming talents. And I kind of feel sorry for them because back in my day, a person could have a chance to, learn his craft in many different territories, and by the time he was ready for the big time, if he ever got there, he could make a living in different places. Nowadays, all you can do is be a weekend warrior, and you have to, have a job and then just wrestle on weekends. If that's in a lot of weekends, they don't even have wrestling. So for these guys, and there's no money in it, so it's got to be just for the love of it. So I'm going to go down there and give a speech, and first thing I'm going to say is, my name is Lanny, and what's your name? I'm going to ask you a question. Tell me your name and tell me why you're a wrestler, because I really like to know. Of course, if it's anything but the love of the game, I'm afraid they're not going to make it, because it better not be money, because the money won't be there until the very, very end. And by that time, you know what I mean, it's a bleak situation compared to when I was around.
Now, you had the privilege of being able to compete in your father's promotion or very early in your career along with Randy. Back in those days where territories were just so prominent and they were so, each individual territory had its own place, whereas today independent promotions struggle so hardly just to stay in survival mode. How important was it for you to be under your father's wing, very early in your career like that, before you and Randy eventually both made it to the World Wrestling Federation?
Well, to be perfectly honest, I was wrestling in Portland, Oregon, and I had an opportunity to wrestle in Los Angeles. I was going to go in there as a villain, a bad guy, a heel, and I was on the phone with the promotions, and they were going to give me a shot. I was going to get a top spot in Los Angeles. And then my father called me up, and my brother, and talked me into going to Lexington, Kentucky. And so I had to call Mike LaBelle and tell him that I'm sorry I'm not coming in, and he was disappointed, but so was I. So my father was not the promoter. I was 1/3 investor, and my brother invested 1/3, and my dad invested 1/3. And I was 33% owner of ICW Wrestling. So they were the reason we were there. I was just drafted. I did not enlist, if you want to use Vietnam terms. I didn't want to do it. I came reluctantly. In no way was I ever interested in being a promoter or having my own place. I'm a minimalist. I just wanted to wrestle. That's all I wanted to do. But my family needed me, and I came. And I'd say, just like War and Peace, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. And then when we got into the World Wrestling Federation, you hear things in the locker room like Vince McMahon's an idiot. Well, he's a lot of things, but he certainly is no idiot. And those people that said that have never promoted. I'd say he's, you may like him, you may not like him. But I think when you talk about idiots, I'm the genius, and if I had his brains, I'd throw mine away.
Do you think, Lanny, do you believe, in your heart, that the World Wrestling Federation and where Vince was able to take it to those kind of heights, do you believe in your heart that was the best thing for wrestling, but we all know it killed off the territories? What's your feelings on that?
Was it the best thing for wrestling? Well, actually, it had unintended consequences. That's a political term. It's like sort of Obamacare, right? Unintended consequences.
Right.
So
that's right.
Yeah, that's right. And by the way, would you like to hear a little poem about Obama?
We would love to hear a poem about Obama, please.
Okay. Now I'm going to alienate half of our audience, and here we go. Okay. There once was a man named Barack. He lied to his gullible flock. For the national debt, he has no regret because he's still blaming Bush. What a crock. His Benghazi excuses were lame, as if freedom of speech is to blame. Unless you keep score by the murder of 4, the Watergate scandal's the same. With executive privilege in place and a permanent smirk on his face, he does what he wants while the media grunt and insist this is all about race.
Wow.
Ain't that right?
It is the
truth.
truth.
Whether you like it or whether you don't like it, these are my views, and I am Lanny Poffo. And what do they say when you're running for president? I approve this message, whatever it is.
Tell you what, Lanny, I've had the pleasure of being able to go on vacation a few times this year, and a couple of my co-hosts harass me and say I've got more vacation time than Obama, but I always tell them right back, at least you don't have to pay for it.
Yeah, and at least you don't have to sleep with Michelle.
Ow.
Oh, let's get back to wrestling, shall we?
Hey,
okay,
Rick,
let's wrestle.
Rick, can I jump in real quick?
So you Roy?
Yeah, it's Roy.
Yeah, go for it, Roy, please.
All right. Hey, first of all, Mr. Poffo, my utmost respect to you. We've chatted a couple times. We have a mutual friend in common named Jeff Daugherty. He's listening into this show right now. I told him that we were doing radio with you, and he is listening right now, just so you know.
Well, that's fantastic. Jeff Daugherty is my personal scapegoat. Every time I fail, I blame Jeff, especially if he has nothing to do with it. And this is our running joke. And then he gives me this great advice, and I say, never mind, no, that's not what we're going to do. And then I say exactly the same thing he said, and he said, well, that's why you're the genius. And I hate to plagiarize. I got that comedy from Ross Cramden, Jackie Gleason, where he's the big loud mouth that always knew what was right. And, but Jeff is, I'll tell you what, and a lot of people listening, Jeff is starting his own web business, and I implore everybody to figure that out and get in there. Okay, I don't remember the name of it. If you're out there, call this number because he's really one of the greatest web hosts there is, and he's starting a business, and I endorse it 100%.
Yeah, I did want to ask you a couple questions, Mr. Poffo. I had a couple friends ask me, and I've always been curious about this. In the past, there has been photos of you in the aftermags in a suit of armor, and we were just curious of the origin of that. Where did you come up with the idea to do the suit of armor thing?
Well, thank you for the question. A lot of times I get dumb questions, from people that don't even know who the hell I am. But you've done your research, and I'll tell you the whole story. I was leaving Bill Watts' territory. They brought in a new booker, Bill Dundee. I made an interview, and Bill Dundee pulls me to the side, and he says, that was a hell of an interview. I think you could be a knight in shining armor.
I already see where this one's leading.
Well, and you know something? My first instinct was, what does he know? And then, when you're working for Bill Watts, the miles are ridiculously long, and the thing started to prey on my mind. The suit of armor, that I could be, the first knight of the squared circle. And you know how it is. It starts to prey on your mind. And Bill Dundee is no idiot. Whenever a guy that short makes does it successful as he has, it's not like he was born for the business. He had to use his brain. He's like Andre the Giant. He had an advantage, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, of course.
So when you're short and you make it big in the business, you know, you must have a brain. So it started to prey on my mind, and I said, maybe I could be the knight. And I'm, you know, I was newly married and thinking of ways I could make money and do well and be a main eventer. And, you know, every wrestler ought to think of a gimmick, you know. So I did some research, and it cost me $1,800, a suit of armor that was suitable for not real armor, but let's say you were going to be in the play Camelot, and you were going to play Sir Lancelot. So this was theatrical armor. It wouldn't stop a bullet or a joust, you know. It was like so. Then I started wearing it in Memphis, and I'll tell you what, it got over. But then after a few months, the fans got sick of it. You know, you keep walking down the aisle with the same thing once a week, you know, because every Monday was Memphis, every Tuesday was Louisville, you know, it was in the same. Yeah, it made a good first impression, but then it got a little boring. But then who doesn't, okay? So anyway, even Andre got a little shorter if you've seen him a few times. Then if you haven't seen him in a while, they got tall again. You know, first time I met him, I said, wow, look at that guy. You know, it's a giant. Anyway, then I think it was Howard Finkel, when I got to the World Wrestling Federation. First of all, the first time I was on TNT, I used it because I was afraid that I'd be too boring to be invited back. And I did a poem while it was in the armor, and when they went to black, which is the commercial break, Vince McMahon says, Lanny, that was fantastic. From now on, you do a poem before every match. And I was so excited that I got a gimmick, you know what I mean? And but he didn't ask for the armor. But then it was Howard Finkel's idea when they had bunkhouse battle royals that I was going to wear the armor. Now, I wore the helmet in the ring, and some of the wrestlers went around slapping me right in the helmet, and it went so that was really, I said, this is terrible. The wrestlers are, so I knew which wrestlers did it, so I took the helmet off, put it in my fist, and went around potatoing in the head each wrestler that had done that to me. You know, and I said, here's your receipt. Bam. You know, and I hit him. Of course, it wasn't real armor. You know, so it didn't, but I'm sure it didn't feel good either because, anyway, after about 15 battle royals, bunkhouse battle royals, I finally threw the armor away. It was all beyond repair. So there is no armor anymore, but thank you for a very good question.
No, I definitely appreciate it. I just got a message from Jeff telling me that he's in shock that you can't remember WrestleHost.com.
Oh, no, tell Jeff. You tell Jeff that I remembered it. I just wanted him to come on the air, and I want Jeff to call this number, get him on the air. I want him on the show. I'm working on it right now as we speak.
You have a challenge, Roy. While Roy's doing that, Lanny...
And we're going to see who's the genius between Jeff and I.
And then I did have another question to ask you. A lot of people, when in the United States, are asked who was the first on a full-time basis in a major promotion in the States to do the moonsault. Your name is usually mentioned first. So I wanted to ask you, when did you first think of doing the moonsault? Was it in your dad's federation, or was it in the WWF, or when did you first start doing it on a regular basis?
Okay, I did it about 6 hours after I saw Tiger Mask do it on a videotape. Okay, Tiger Mask was wrestling the Dynamite Kid. And everybody thinks I invented the move. I invented the move right after I stole it. So everybody said, do you mind if I do a moonsault? And I said, Roy, I stole it first. You know what I'm saying? So I'm proud to say that, and I thought, to be quite honest, Tiger Mask's moonsault was better than mine. but he's a lot smaller, and it's just harder to. I'm a full-grown man, and it's a little. There's a reason why a center in basketball is not as good a ball handler as the guard. But the center is better at rebounds. I'm just saying. But I did not invent the moonsault, and I don't. The only thing I can say that is original, every poem I've ever written, every poem that I've ever recited, was written by me. It's all mine. That's the only thing I'm original.
Now, I really got to compliment you. One time when I was younger, my dad took me to the Garden. I'm from California, but my family's out east, and there was a show at the Garden when you did your quote-unquote heel turn there, and you started the evening, because I think you were a face going in, but your poem was, I am the genius Lanny Poffo, and I know what's up. The Boston Bruins don't have a chance to win the Stanley Cup. And I had never heard a reaction like that in my life.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you got out of that building alive that night.
Right, that was, and then I said, my name is Lanny Poffo. I always know what's up. The Celtics haven't got a chance to win the Stanley Cup. The Bruins haven't got a chance to win the Stanley Cup. The Celtics haven't won in years. I hope they never do. The Red Sox are a travesty. The Patriots are too. And something. And then I thought, what an easy gimmick. I can just do a poem about. So then I go to Omaha, Nebraska, and I said a horrible poem about the Cornhuskers. And that's all those people. That's all these people have is the Cornhuskers, in the college football. And I said something terrible about them, and then I went around the country saying bad things about everybody. and then I knew how easy it was to get cheap heat, the best kind of all.
That's right. Area code 902. Who do we have on this evening?
Hey, I understand Mr. Poffo issued a challenge for me to call into the show.
Is your name Jeff?
WrestleHost.com.
It is I.
Is this WrestleHost.com?
Hey,
And I
okay.
Who have I blamed for every mistake I've made?
Well, of course you blame me, whether it's my fault or not, and 9 times out of 10 it's your fault.
I'd say it was 10 out of 10. It's always been my fault, but I've always blamed you. And if anything was your fault, I wouldn't blame you.
We did a good job, You challenged me to come on the show, and then you made sure I would, then reading your poem and making fun of my Boston sports teams. That ensured that I would be calling in.
I have now put salt in the wounds.
Well, this is true.
Although a 30-year wound, right?
Well, see, he neglects to mention that all of my Boston sports teams have won many championships since he wrote that poem. So, he's a little lapsed in his memory of those particular facts.
Let's see. I also wrote a few. Yes.
I'm sorry. I was going to get another. Go ahead and finish your thought, please.
Okay, Jeff. Since we have you here, and since you know the name of your company, why don't you get a shameless plug about your fantastic web support system?
Sure. Thank you so much. I don't want to take up time from other callers that may want to call in and talk or listen to the wonderful stories of Mr. Poffo. However, Roy is aware of a business that I've just started. Basically, it's been in existence for a while, but I've just kind of put it on the front burner and getting things going now, called WrestleHost.com. And what that is about is I decided I wanted to give back a little something to wrestling and at the same time be able to make a living for myself. So I decided to start a business whereby I design websites for wrestlers and independent wrestling promotions, former WWE stars, TNA, anything like that, any kind of wrestler at all, anyone involved in a wrestling business, and make them very, very cheap and affordable, because I know that a lot of the independent wrestlers don't have a lot of money. They basically make enough to get to the show and maybe grab themselves a Happy Meal after the show, and some of them not even that much. But in order to forward their career and progress along, promoters want to see pictures, videos of them on the web, and in order to do that, they need to have an affordable service. So that's where I come in. I offer, nice, clean, easy, nice-looking websites that'll make them look good, and as well give them an online presence where they can promote themselves to other promoters and territories. And we won't body slam their wallets. So basically, any independent professional wrestlers out there, former pro, big stars from WWE, TNA, etc., anybody at all in the wrestling industry, if they want a cheap web presence that doesn't look cheap, and they'd like to help me out by hopping on the WrestleHost network, tell them to check out WrestleHost.com, and I'd be more than happy to talk to them and welcome them aboard.
And what was the name of that company?
Sorry?
What was the name of that company again?
That is WrestleHost.com. WrestleHost.com.
Now, do you spell wrestle with a W?
That is a WRESTLEHOST.com.
You know what it should be? I think you should change it to WrestleHost.com, eh?
Well, exactly. Nice guy. See, he makes fun of me because I'm in Canada, but I'm originally from Boston, so I'm American. So, but I will definitely take wrestlers from Canada, United States, Mexico, anywhere, all around the world. I don't care where you're from. We're all international, and we're all friends and neighbors on the internet. So, come on by to WrestleHost.com and check this out, and we'll be happy to get you online at a price you can afford.
Hey, Jeff.
Outstanding, Jeff.
Well,
Jeff,
thank you.
This is Jason.
Jason, how you doing, buddy?
Not too bad. I just wanted to pop in real quick. We talked last night on Facebook, and just wanted to let you know I did go check out your site, and I checked out a few of the sites that you made, and I honestly popped for the We Don't Body Slam Your Wallet, and your work looks really nice, so I just wanted to say that.
Oh, thanks very much. Jason Maples?
No problem, my friend.
Yes, I appreciate it. It was nice to finally talk to you and to talk to I don't want to take up too much of the genius's time here because he has many stories much better than mine to tell. However, when I was challenged to call, I figured I might as well, I don't want to disappoint.
I was going to answer the challenge.
I was getting ready to tell a fantastic story, and then you ruined it, and now I can't remember it.
That's okay. You want me to tell it? I've probably heard it a million times already. Lanny and I talk on the phone probably 2 or 3 times a day, every day, and we use FaceTime on the iPhone and stuff. So I never tire of his stories. He's one of the most fascinating storytellers in the wrestling business, and I'm glad you guys have got him on tonight. And as I said to Roy, it's nice to have a couple of gentlemen who are very respectful of the wrestling industry and who know so much about it to interview Lanny, and who take it very seriously and have great questions, and to allow him to tell some new information as opposed to the plain old run-of-the-mill questions that a lot of the wrestlers get asked. So kudos to you guys for a great interview, and keep up the great work.
And
Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate that, bud.
And Jeff, I blame you for everything that's happened and everything that's going to happen.
Well, once again, why not? You always do, so why should that change now?
And I made a video promo WrestleHost.com, and it just wasn't good enough, was it? So we have to do it again.
Well, we're going to have to do it again because it just wasn't up to your standards. It was a little windy that day, and Mr. Poffo's multi-million-dollar audio-video equipment and stuff wasn't up to snuff with the wind and stuff, and his hair was blowing a little bit left and right, and we just couldn't have him looking bad. So we're going to have him redo it, and that should be on the site soon too. So.
Well,
Mr. Hang on a second. Mr. Poffo, did he just say that you were windy?
He said I was windy.
Is that what I just heard him say, that you were windy?
Yeah, I tell you what, I'm from Chicago, which is the windy city.
You're from Chicago. You're from Calgary.
You're from Canada.
I was born in Calgary. I'm a Canadian-born American citizen.
Yeah, and I'm an American-born Canadian and American citizen. So who makes that?
Well, let me ask you a question.
Yes.
Why doesn't the United States fall into the Gulf of Mexico?
Oh, I'm not going to touch this one because I think I know the answer, and I'd get in a lot of trouble with my friends up here if I answered it. So you go ahead and tell everybody.
I want to hear this one.
Okay, the reason that the United States does not fall into the Gulf of Mexico is because Canada sucks.
Oh. Ouch. You're not planning any bookings in Canada for the next 10 years or so, are you, Lanny?
I hope not.
All of a sudden, Canadian promoters across the country listening to this interview all of a sudden deleted Lanny from their iPhone directories.
This interview has gotten completely out of control.
That's crazy.
How do American girls get pregnant?
Oh, God, here we go again. He does it to me every day, guys, so I'm used to it. You guys just got to get used to these bad jokes.
I got to hear this one.
How do American girls get pregnant? Don't know much about sex in Canada, do you?
Funny.
Well, you said,
nice guy.
I didn't hear an answer, so I thought you didn't know.
I found with you it's better not to answer because I get in trouble that way. So, anyway, guys, I don't want to hijack your time. You guys, I'm sure, have lots and lots of questions, and like I said, I wouldn't have called in had I not been challenged to. So, I'll leave you guys to Lanny, and again, like I say, keep up the great work. Fantastic interview so far, and I shall be listening carefully, and I'll review it with you later, Mr. Poffo. You better do well.
WrestleHost.com.
WrestleHost.com. One more time, WrestleHost.com.
Thank you so much.
And everybody, make sure to get out to
Jason's.
Well, make sure everybody should get out to Jason's show coming up. It looks fantastic. I wish I could be in your area, Jason, to take in your shows. I've never seen a harder working promoter on the internet, and you deserve all the success. I hope you get plenty of people there. And hey, if you can do me a favor, Jason, next time when you have your next show, can you get me Lanny Poffo's autograph, please?
I'll try, but if I don't get it, it's probably your fault.
Oh, okay. Well, that's fine. It's my fault anyway, so he'll blame me.
Right on.
All right, guys.
Jeff, I heard it only costs $50.
Well, that's a bargain. He usually tells me $100, and I'm his friend.
Oh.
Okay. My autographs are $50 a piece, but if it's any more, I won't pay you.
Ooh. Listen to him. He's full of the rare little gems. So, anyway, on that note, boys, again, I won't tie you up anymore. You guys have a great interview, and thanks for having me on the show, and I look forward to talking to you guys again.
Yeah, that was a shameless plug. I'm ashamed of you.
WrestleHost.com. WrestleHost.com.
Okay.
Have a good night, guys. I'm signing out. Punch it out.
Bye, Jeff. Thank you. Oh, Lanny Poffo.
That
Lanny,
seemed like some kind of a commercial.
I want to hit you up on something that I hadn't. I really wanted to get an answer to because I don't remember anything. You and your brother did feud against each other in territories. I don't recall, and if I am mistaken, please correct me. I don't recall brother feuds back in the 70s and earlier. Were you one of the very first brothers to actually go up against each other and acknowledge it?
I think we were, yes, and of course, first we denied it, then we admitted to being cousins, then we admitted to being brothers, and it didn't seem to matter. I'll tell you what, every time I touched my brother, the match was fantastic, and it wasn't because of me.
Hey, Zane Paisley, I know you have a question for Lanny. Why don't you shoot it to him, please?
Well, Lanny, with your indulgence, may I read a poem that I wrote for you?
Wow, okay, I'm all ears.
Okay. He is one of the most memorable wrestlers in the game. With his father and brother, he will be in the Hall of Fame. He writes books telling kids not to smoke. He is hilarious, but not a joke. He was in the main event with Hogan and the Giant. He guided perfection with Kurt as his client. His in-ring skills and mic work are uncanny. Let's give a round of applause to our friend, Leaping Lanny.
Wow, thank you. Thank you. It's so hard to rhyme anything with Lanny.
Nice.
That was great. It had rhythm, it had rhyme, it had it all. And thanks for plugging my smoking book. Here's some exciting news. Limericks from the Heart and Lungs was in its third printing, and the publisher, White Decay Publishing, they put it on Kindle now, ebook. And if you go on Amazon.com, or actually go on GeniusLannyPoffo.com and look at all the, you can get an ebook of that. And then I just got news that the Wrestling with Rhyme, the first book I wrote, that's going to be on Kindle too. So
awesome.
That's
I'm feeling pretty good about it. And I go to schools and I try to be a good role model, tell kids not to smoke. I never smoked, drank, or took drugs. The exception being when I became the Genius, I am ashamed to say that I took a drug called decadurabolin. That's a steroid. And but right after my match with Hulk Hogan, I looked in the mirror, and my testicles had shrunk to the size of raisins. And I decided to pull that needle out, and within a month, all the muscle was gone. So the reason I say that is not to rat myself out, but please don't do it. Please don't take steroids. And in the meantime, don't smoke. But I'm a born-again health nut. I'll never do it again. And I'll just go around trying to help as many people as I can avoid temptation.
Well, and I've heard that a good alternative to steroids is a large perm on your head to make yourself look larger. Is that one of the things that you used in your initial run as Leaping Lanny?
Well, what happened was when you get a perm like I got, you look good for about 2 weeks, and then you have a blowout. So please don't perm your hair. Don't let that happen to you.
Okay, don't smoke, don't perm your hair, and don't take steroids. Thank you so much for the advice.
Yeah, and don't get a mustache that reminds people of Kirk Ziegler. I'm really ashamed of myself. I've learned a lot, and I'm not gonna wear a beard. Of course, if I go camping, I'm gonna let my beard grow a little bit. But I'm clean shaven now because it's so hard to stay within the lines.
Hey, Lanny, did it ever bother you?
For you?
No, go ahead, Jason.
I had a question for Lanny, and excuse me if you've already answered this, but your first book, was it a book just with your poems and limericks from your days in WWF?
Mostly, yes. I'd say 60% Leaping Lanny poems that were on TV. And the other 40% were beautiful illustrations, not by me, because if I illustrated the book, you think, well, I just don't have that talent. And it was just different poems that I've written. And some people liked them and some people didn't, but everybody likes the illustrations. Lynn Gutschall from Aurora, Colorado, she did all the illustrations, and she made the book worthwhile.
Okay, yeah, I was just wondering, and is aside from Kindle and online, is it still available as a hardcover or paperback?
They're both available as paperback, but now it's on Kindle. I mean, what it is, Wrestling with Rhyme is about to be on Kindle, and Limericks from the Heart and Lungs already is. And I'm going to be going to Chicago to speak to the 6 schools in one day, and thanks to the superintendent of schools, Dr. Thomas Livingston, I presume, and who knows, maybe while we're there, we might see a Cubs or Sox game. I'd love to. But
that'd be awesome.
Yeah, but I haven't. The main thing we're going to do is talk to the kids. And since it is Chicago, we're going to try not to get killed.
Amen to that.
No, don't talk about the rest anymore.
If by chance you have any paperback versions of either of those books, I hope that you bring a couple of them up next Friday. I'd like to get one of those for myself, actually.
Well, I'll tell you what, I can't accept your money, so just come on up and demand what I offered. I'm bringing the Wrestling with Rhyme book. I'm not bringing the Limericks book because it's a wrestling crowd, and I don't like to mix them up. And you know, when I'm doing the smoking, I leave the wrestling at home. When I'm doing the wrestling, you know, vice versa. But come on up and get your love.
Fantastic.
All right, we've got time for a couple more questions with Lanny, and I know Zane had a WCW question for you, Lanny. If we could shift it over to Zane.
Yeah, Lanny, I think it's kind of wild that you were employed by the Turner Corporation for a few years, but never wrestled a match. Was there ever a time that they said, we're going to bring you in and do this with you? Or did they just say, we want you on retainer, and when we need you, we'll call you?
Okay, very good question. And, I am so glad you asked me, okay? I've got a picture of myself with blonde hair and blue eyes and built like there's no tomorrow with a hell of a tan. And I was training and doing everything I possibly could to get ready to be Gorgeous George. And the phone call never happened. And as a matter of fact, the girl that took the picture was Carol Avery. All the wrestlers know her. She does a lot of hair for a lot of the wrestlers. And not only the blonde hair, but she gave me extensions. I kept my hair blonde for 2.5 years, and still the phone call never happened. And as a matter of fact, I was just watching kayfabe commentaries, and have you ever seen those?
I have not seen those yet.
I have.
No, I haven't either.
I recommend them, and I also recommend that you see Mag, and go on kayfabe commentaries and look for mine. I answered a lot of serious questions on that. And I also noticed Robert Fuller had been employed as a booker, and he got into an argument and left, and they kept him on the payroll for 4 years, and he never showed up. So let me explain to you what's wrong. Same thing. First of all, okay? Let's say I was a leech on the WCW. Let's say I was a parasite. Which a lot of people think, okay? I just want it to be known that, without going into exact figures, that my brother took Slim Jim away from Vince McMahon and brought it to Ted Turner. And the money generated by that move made my contract with the WCW look like a drop in the bucket compared to the flood of money that Randy brought in. So if indeed I was just Randy's perk, let me just say that it didn't hurt anybody. Now, everybody talks about, hey, we had a chance to put Vince out of business. No, you didn't. Okay, you never did have a chance to put Vince McMahon out of business, because Vince McMahon would have never allowed Robert Fuller to stay under contract or Lanny Poffo to stay under contract. He's in the trenches every day. The other people were just spending OPM, other people's money. And I'll tell you another secret. They had a booker that could have turned it around, but everybody hated him because he was getting people off contract. And he says, because he knew that everybody was on contract and then they get hurt and then they stay home and get checks. Well, why would you want to wrestle when you can just stay home and get checks, right?
Right.
Exactly.
Okay. Now you know as well as I knew that Bill Watts has a reputation for making money. Okay, he's one of the greatest bookers and promoters ever. And but because he was shaking everything up and hurting everybody's free ride, somebody told Hank Aaron that he was a racist, and that's what got him fired. How you like that? Now, let me ask you a question. If Bill Watts is a racist, then how come he took a wrestler named Sylvester Ritter, whose career was going nowhere, made him the Junkyard Dog, and the rest is history? And how come he took a great star like Ernie Ladd, whose knees were bad and couldn't wrestle anymore because he was getting older, and he made him a booker, kept him on the payroll, and the rest is history? How come he took Butch Reed? See, if this is a racist, he's employed more African Americans than Obama. This
Kamala as well.
What's that?
Didn't he also put the belt on Ron Simmons, make him the first black champion?
Well, there you go. I mean, I'll tell you what. Bill Watts doesn't know any color except one, and that is green.
Yep.
And I'm just saying, it makes me angry to say, they hired him. I'll tell you what. Do you think Bill Watts would have allowed me to be on contract for 4 years? Absolutely not.
No way.
He would either bring me in and use me as a wrestler, or he would cut me off. And that's as it should be. But let's put it this way: there were more. I'm just the tip of the iceberg. There was a lot more chicanery going on in the WCW, and they deserve to be out of business because they suck.
All right, guys, we are running out of time with Mr. Poffo. I've got 2 more questions I want to ask Mr. Poffo before he leaves tonight, and then give him a chance to, promote his books and his writings and things as well. And Lanny, I would love to have you on the show again. There's a million questions we couldn't get to with you tonight, and we could talk to you in easily another 4 hours. So hopefully you'll come and join us when we do part 2 sometime.
I blame Jeff Doherty for all that, but yes, you're
right.
I
do too. I do too. And I blame Sean Forrester as well. But
hey.
Next, hey, that's my guy. That's my guy I blame. Mr. Poffo, question for you is: you say you have not really kept much in contact with the current wrestling scene, but certainly you had to have heard of Damien Sandow.
Yes.
What is your thoughts on that? Because it seems like it's an extension of the Genius gimmick.
Well, actually, you know Joe Gomez?
Yes.
You do?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
Not personally.
Okay, he called me up and invited me to go down to Florida Championship Wrestling because they're grooming a guy, and he really likes me and wants to meet me, and he wants to ask me permission if I can have, his gimmick and stuff. And so I met the guy, and his beard was much better than mine. He was taller than me. He says, Mr. Poffo, I'm a big fan of yours. Would you mind if I stole your gimmick? And I said, you cannot steal my gimmick because I stole it. I said, you think I'm not the first person to wear a cap and gown. And I said, Bobby Heenan was nice enough to let me be the genius while he was still the brain. And the only reason I was the genius is because I can't point to my 24-inch arms, so I have to point to my head. How am I going to get heat? And I can't point to anything. So if I don't have a great body, am I right? I gotta say I'm smart or something. And I said, look. I said, I'm sure that you'll add your own individuality to my gimmick, but go ahead and use it. And save your money, do your best, and I wish you nothing but the best, and thanks for asking, but it's not my gimmick to steal. I stole it first. There was Professor Roy Shires. My father used a cap and gown for a while. Professor Boris Maximilianovich Malenko. Everybody, a cap and gown is instant color, charisma. And, it's a great outfit. But I have my time is up. It's his turn. I'm very happy for him, and I think he's a fantastic performer. I saw him on YouTube, and I thought he was a great interview, and I hope he does well. And it's kind of a compliment. And my brother thought that Jay Lethal was a compliment to him, too. And he got on the phone with him in a 3-way call, and he says, just do your best. I'm really, really, very proud that you stole my gimmick. That's good. And, when I met Jay Lethal, he says, was that really Randy on the phone? He says, yeah, he loves your gimmick.
I agree with you. Damien Sandow is a talent that I enjoy watching him, and he reminds me of you every week that I see him on the television. I'm brought back to the days of the Genius. Last question for you tonight, if I may, sir. because I feel you deserve your opportunity to tell the world what the truth is, and that is the WWF Hall of Fame for your brother. A lot of people are going out and accusing Lanny Poffo of being the reason that Randy is not in the WWE's Hall of Fame. Clear the air for us, Lanny, please, because we don't get to hear your side of the story.
Well, it was the day before my brother passed away. He insisted one more time, and he had a little bit of a case of OCPD, obsessive-compulsive personality disorder. The only thing is, it's an undiagnosed case, but I've got it worse. Okay? And it was after the Von Erichs got into the Hall of Fame, he said, how do you like that? The Von Erichs get in the Hall of Fame. Even Chris gets in the Hall of Fame. Not Kerry, but even Chris. He says, well, if they can get in the Hall of Fame and they commit suicide, then I think the Poffos deserve to be in the Hall of Fame, Angelo, Lanny, and Randy. And that's what he wanted, and that's what when John Laurinaitis called me up, that's what I told him. But I thought of a way out of it, since they evidently don't want to do it. I don't have and I said this on an article, I let the word go forth. And if anybody in the WWE is listening now, you want to put Randy in the Hall of Fame, you have my permission to do it without my permission. All I ask is don't invite me and don't pay me, because I don't need the 30 pieces of silver to rat my brother out. And so you want to have a little ceremony for him and make yourself feel a little better, even though you didn't express your condolences after he died to my mother and my daughter and myself. If this is going to make you feel better, go ahead and put him in the Hall of Fame against his wishes. I don't have a battery of lawyers waiting to sue anybody. You won't hear a word from me. Go ahead and put him in the Hall of Fame, but in the background, do me a favor and put the Nacho Man against the Huckster when you were trying to destroy his career. You see what I mean? Go ahead and have your little celebration. Just don't invite me and don't pay me. I'm not interested in being a part of denying my brother his last wishes.
Lanny, why is the WWE so against having the Poffo family in the Hall of Fame? I mean, certainly you had a distinguished career with them for many years, and you deserve to be in there too. Is it because of your dad, or what is it? What's their reasoning to you of why they don't want to do this?
The reason is it doesn't matter. It won't bring them back. The fans care. Randy never did. Okay? And, I mean, the fans care a lot, evidently. That's why you're asking me. Randy wasn't interested in their Hall of Fame. He was, let me just give you some facts. I don't want to be quoting my brother because he's not here to defend himself in case I'm lying. Okay? Just in case I'm not telling the truth, and people lie all the time, and I'm not above it either. But let's stick to the truth here and what can be proven. On November 16th, 1987, there was a battle royal in the Meadowlands for people like Lou Fez, Gene Kiniski, Keller Kowalski, Bobo Brazil, Gino Brito, and several other old-timers. Yes. And my father asked my brother if he could get him on that card. Al Costello was the guy that informed my dad that this was going on, and he was so excited to go to New Jersey and have that match.
One of the Kangaroos, right, Lanny?
Yes, he was one of the surviving Kangaroos. He's no longer alive.
Right.
Excellent guy, though. And, by the way, he's the guy I stole my Frisbees from. He used to throw boomerangs.
Right.
And I just changed it to Frisbees.
Right.
So, anyway, so Randy says, don't worry, it's done. And Randy thought he had the stroke to do it. And then I think I was in the Landover, Maryland Cap Center in Landover, Maryland. And Randy had that faith. And he grabs me by the wrist and he pulls me and he says, come here. And he says, I won't use the bad words, but he says, those MFs aren't going to do this. They don't want Dad to be in the Battle Royal. As far as I'm concerned, I was going to quit, but that's not good business because, you know, he says, from now on, it's just business, no pleasure, like these guys. So that was his feelings from June 6th. He had just turned 35 the day before, on November 15th. And this is one day after his birthday, and he should have been the happiest man in the world. Instead, he put a chip on his shoulder and kept it there the rest of his life, actually, because he was not a kind of guy to forgive a slight like that. And, you know, it wasn't a lot to ask. So anyway, the point is, so reluctantly, he stayed in the WWE, but he just did it for the business. He didn't like anybody anymore because they're really nice when they want something. But when you want something, they're not as nice. Okay, and it was just a small favor. So then what happened was, at the very, very end, when Randy, after Elizabeth left Randy, and they made Randy the announcer, Randy started to get bored as the announcer, and one of his biggest, he was really sorry that he never had a match as good as the one he had with Ricky Steamboat in WrestleMania 3, but he had set the bar too high. And while he was watching Shawn Michaels, he thought, I think I can have a match with Shawn Michaels that's almost as good, just as good, or even maybe better than what I had with Ricky Steamboat. So he devised a 2-year program ending in another WrestleMania where Randy would lose and go back to the announcer's table and this time retire for good. And he presented it as a 2-year program, and the powers that be of the WWE said, well, that's great, Randy, but we're having a youth movement, and the best thing you can do is hold the microphone. So then Randy says, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize I was elderly, but I think I'll get a second opinion. So he calls up the WCW, and he asked if that offer was still on the table, the same offer that he had turned down a couple of times already. And that's when he left. And then he did something unforgivable to the WWF. He took Slim Jim away. But come on, guys. You know what? They made a couple of gratis promos. They were trying to put Bam Bam Bigelow as a replacement for the Macho Man.
I remember that, yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, Macho Man in Bam Bam Bigelow, I know that this is all subjective, but Bam Bam was special because he was chosen. Macho Man was chosen because he was special. And Macho Man was the greatest interviewer and the most fun to imitate person. I'd say between him and the Iron Sheik, everybody loved him.
Maybe.
So anyway, so what really happened was, then, you know, he took them away, and then they started that Huckster versus the Nacho Man trying to destroy his brand. And they actually, if you look at and go on YouTube, and they make fun of everything, his bald spot, and boy, you didn't do that. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It was, and then they made fun of perhaps Hulk Hogan was doing Elizabeth. If you look, there was some subliminal jokes in there. And, you know, they were getting pretty nasty with this. And then Triple H did an interview where they called Randy he said, well, what do you think of Hogan and Macho Man? He says, well, they're great, but they're dinosaurs. Well, evidently Randy didn't like being called a dinosaur. And just to make sure I'm not lying, go on YouTube and look up Randy Savage present day, and you'll see Randy's answer to Triple H and Hulk Hogan. You know, that way I don't have to quote Randy, and then you guys might think, well, is Lanny lying? So the only way I'm going to get out of this, because I don't enjoy being the reason Randy's not in the Hall of Fame. Put yourself in my shoes. Would you enjoy it?
No.
Okay, so my answer to the WWE, the wonderful people of the WWE, and I'm not completely sarcastic because I don't bite the hand that feeds me and I don't bite the hand that fed me. Okay, I'm very appreciative to what I got from them. And I'm also very proud of my contribution to them, too, including a carry-out job for Andre the Giant, getting him ready for WrestleMania 3. And everybody was worried, everybody was worried if I would get enough blood, but nobody cared if I coagulated, if you know what I mean. In other words, I feel like a girl that put out on the first date and then the guy doesn't call him back. I've been on the other side of that so many times it was my turn. So anyway, have you seen the YouTube video, Randy Savage Present Day?
I have it ready to watch right when we get done with this show. It is on there. You type Randy Savage Present Day, and it starts with members only, and it goes from there.
Okay, have you ever seen it before?
No, this is actually the first time I've heard of it.
Well, here's the thing. Randy loved Triple H, and that's why it really hurt him that he called him a dinosaur. This type of thing hurts his feelings. And Randy's answer was, if I'm such a dinosaur, let's have a shoot. That was Randy's answer to everything, let's have a shoot. So then Randy made some insinuations, and you know what I mean, if you're really interested, let's go into it. Go ahead and watch it because it's out there. It's there. It went viral. There used to be about 3 million hits. Now they're back to about 1,000. Sometimes I wish they'd take it off the internet. And now I say it's good that it's on. Go ahead and watch it. That's how he felt. And but see, I thought, and let me ask you a question. If you were in my situation, isn't that a pretty good answer? Go ahead and put him in the Hall of Fame. Just leave me out of it. I mean, do you think I'm going to sue somebody? Vince has got 100 lawyers on retainer. Do you think I'm going to take him to court?
Of course not.
Yeah.
Okay, you want to put him in first? Listen, you want to put him in the Hall of Fame? Put him in the Hall of Fame. Don't invite me. I don't want to make that speech because that's pissing on my brother's grave. See, go ahead and have your fun. Go ahead and soothe your own conscience, even though you could have done it when he was alive. And the greatest interview in the world could have accepted the award. Ooh, yeah. Nobody can do what he can do. I can't. And you can't.
Get the last cash grab off of your brother's name.
What's that?
I said basically get the last cash grab off of your brother's name if that's what they want to do, right?
Well, if that's what they want to do, let them do it. I mean, myself, and believe it or not, I'm more appreciative than I am angry. They're the ones that didn't induct him into the Hall of Fame, and they made themselves look like assholes every year. You know, there's two guys that really deserve to be in the Hall of Fame: Bruno Sammartino and Randy. And so you understand, for all the fans listening, go ahead and put it in. Just don't invite me, and definitely don't pay me. You know, I'm one of the few wrestlers that isn't dead or dead broke. So I don't need your 30 pieces of silver. And if you don't know what that is, that's a biblical expression from Judas Iscariot. You know, I don't want to talk over the people's heads. It's how much money Judas Iscariot took to identify Jesus and betray him. So, but you know what though? When I say that, you say, well, I don't believe in that. Well, you know why you don't believe in it? Because it's not on YouTube. So if you don't believe in the Bible because it's not on YouTube, you can believe that Macho Man made this interview that really evoked the ire of the WWF. But I'll tell you what, let's be fair, why don't you show all those Huckster versus Macho Man things too?
Lanny, before we leave you, can you tell us a little bit about your books and what you've got going on today? What's going on in the life of Lanny Poffo?
Just go on geniuslannypoffo.com and you'll find Jeff Doherty's website from WrestleHost.com, and it's all these. I've got books, pictures.
What was that again, Lanny? Was it WrestleHost.com?
Yes. WrestleHost.com,
Okay. Okay, gotcha.
And, Jeff did his publicity. Anyway, there's pictures, there's autographs, and different stuff. And I really enjoy going to the post office and giving people some stuff. And I'm very excited about coming to Fort Wayne, Indiana. And now you didn't ask me, you didn't twist my arm, but since I was such a good guest and since I was a little late, but since I was such a good guest, I'm going to back home again in Indiana. And it seems that I can see a flickering candlelight still shining bright through the sycamores for me. The new mown hay sends all its fragrance on the fields I used to roam. When I dream about the moonlight on the Wabash, then I long for my Indiana home. I love that song, and I love Indiana.
Rock on.
I love the movie Hoosiers. Gene Hackman.
Good one.
You know what, Lanny? Actually, when I was in high school, a bunch of students and myself from school, we were actually extras in that movie, Hoosiers.
Is that a fact?
Yeah, I got to meet Gene Hackman. It was pretty cool. They filmed it here in Indiana.
Wow, yes. That's fantastic. I think he's living in New Mexico right now. He's in his 80s.
Yeah?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He's got himself a nice little ranch or something, and he's letting the clock wind down.
Lanny, I'm very sincere in that I hope you join us again sometime because, like I said, we've got a lot more questions for you and not enough time to ask you all of them. You've been an outstanding guest, and we appreciate it sincerely that you've given us your time this evening. Thank you.
Well, I just want to say thank you for not asking even one dumb question. Everything was great, and I appreciate it.
Thank you, Lanny. We appreciate that as well. The Leaping Genius, Lanny Poffo.
You're listening to the Angry Marks Podcast Network.